Did you know the world's fate shifted dramatically when Japan captured Rangoon? Stay with us to uncover how this event changed the course of history in Myanmar and beyond. Myanmar, historically known as Burma, is a country located in Southeast Asia, bordering Thailand, Laos, China, India, and Bangladesh. With an intricate history, Myanmar has been shaped by various civilizations and cultures, including the Pew city-states and the Mon kingdoms. The region is rich in resources, but has often found itself caught in the crossfire of global conflicts due to its strategic location along trade routes. In the early 20th century, Burma became a British colony after a series of conflicts known as the Anglo-Burmese Wars. During this colonial period, the country underwent significant changes as the British East India Company and later the British government took control, reshaping the social and economic landscape. This led to the influx of Indian laborers and traders, creating a mix of cultures that would contribute to Burma's unique identity. As World War II loomed on the horizon, tensions began to rise in the Pacific region. The Japanese military sought to expand its territory and resources, looking towards Southeast Asia for strategic advantages. Burma was significant not only for its natural resources, but also as a critical pathway to British India. The political stance of Burma's leaders, along with the growing nationalist sentiments, set the stage for an upheaval that would dramatically alter the course of the nation's future. The formation of the Burma Independence Army in 1940 marked a notable shift in the country's political landscape, as many locals, discontent with British colonial rule, allied with the Japanese in hopes of gaining independence. This period witnessed the emergence of various groups advocating for self-rule, and the Japanese promised support if they could defeat the British forces. However, the realities of war were complex, and the true intentions of the Japanese government were often shrouded in ambiguity. With the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Japan initiated a broader campaign in the Asia-Pacific region, which soon included Burma. The invasion began swiftly, showcasing the aggressive strategy and coordination of Japanese forces. By early 1942, the Japanese military was determined to capture Rangoon, the capital of British-controlled Burma, opening up the gateway to further advances into India and beyond. The stage was set for a fierce and dramatic confrontation. As the Japanese military launched its assault on Burma in December 1941, the British forces were unprepared for the intensity and speed of the invasion. The Japanese army, known for its efficiency and tactical superiority, quickly advanced through the country, placing significant pressure on British defenses. This rapid progression led to chaos within the ranks of the British troops, many of whom were caught off guard by the coordinated strategy employed by the Japanese. The Japanese forces utilized their knowledge of the local geography, moving quickly through the jungles and mountains to outmaneuver British troops. The determination of the Japanese military was evident as they pushed towards Rangoon, cutting supply lines and disrupting communications. Their strategy of fast-moving columns and aggressive assaults overwhelmed the British forces, who could not effectively regroup or reinforce their positions in time. By January 1942, the fall of key towns to Japanese forces created a panic among the British commanders. The crucial railway and supply routes, once lifelines for the British Army, were now compromised. As reports of defeat spread, morale among soldiers and civilians plummeted, illustrating the growing despair of the British colonial presence in Burma. The British finally made a decision to retreat and defend their last stronghold at Rangoon in early March 1942. This moment was pivotal, underscoring the collapse of British colonial authority in the region. The Japanese forces continued their relentless advance, and the defenders of Rangoon were quickly overwhelmed, marking a significant victory for the Japanese military. On March 8, 1942, Japanese forces officially captured Rangoon, striking a harsh blow to British control in Southeast Asia. The swift takeover led to extreme changes for the local population, as they were thrust into the chaotic environment that followed the invasion. Many Burmese found themselves caught between the warring factions, leading to immense suffering and displacement as the city transformed overnight from a colonial capital to a battleground. The capture of Rangoon in March 1942 marked the beginning of a tumultuous era for Burma, transitioning from British colonial rule to Japanese occupation. This shift in power caused immediate changes in the administration, with local leaders grappling with the new regime. The Japanese established the Burmese Executive Administration, intending to control the population and resources effectively. This new government was met with mixed emotions. Some locals saw it as a potential opportunity for independence from British rule, while others feared the implications of Japanese dominance. In the early months of Japanese rule, propaganda played a crucial role in shaping public perception. The new regime emphasized that their presence was necessary for the liberation of Burma from British imperialism. Many Burmese, previously longing for self-determination, were swayed by these messages, believing they were finally gaining autonomy. However, the reality was soon to reveal the harsh methods employed by the Japanese military as they sought to maintain control. As the initial excitement faded, it became apparent that life under Japanese occupation was fraught with challenges. The local population faced forced labor, harsh military regulations, and economic hardship as resources were redirected to support the Japanese war effort. Many were conscripted into labor battalions to build roads, airfields, and military facilities, leading to resentment among the Burmese people. The fear of reprisals hung heavily over communities, driving a wedge between the occupiers and the occupied. Amidst the occupied landscape, resistance began to brew within various groups. Many ethnic leaders who had allied with the Japanese initially started to reconsider their position as the realities of occupation became evident. The Burmese National Army, officially formed during the war, started to gain traction among those once hopeful for change. As discontent grew, plans for uprisings and revolts took shape, reflected in the actions of groups who had previously collaborated with the Japanese. As 1945 approached, the pressure from Allied forces grew, culminating in fierce battles to reclaim territory lost to Japan. The Burmese people witnessed continued suffering during this period, yet they also became increasingly active in the pursuit of their own independence. The impact of the war had begun to unite various ethnic groups under a common goal, paving the way for post-war considerations and the eventual push for independence from colonial rule. The groundwork for future governance was being established by the experiences of these turbulent years. The aftermath of the Japanese occupation of Rangoon led to significant transformations in the socio-political landscape of Burma. Following the retreat of Japanese forces in 1945, the British returned, but the dynamics had shifted dramatically. The experiences of the Burmese people during the occupation formed a basis for increased aspirations towards self-governance, which had been previously stifled under colonial and wartime rule. Discontent simmered among the population, igniting a desire for independence. As the political landscape evolved, leaders emerged from the diverse ethnic groups, pushing for greater autonomy and recognition within a unified Burma. Aung San, a prominent figure during this time, played a crucial role in liaising with both the British and various ethnic leaders. Despite his collaboration with the Japanese during the war, he quickly transitioned to advocate for independence, forming alliances with different groups who had fought against British colonialism. In 1947, the Panglong Agreement was executed, securing essential commitments for autonomy to multiple ethnic groups. This landmark decision emphasized cooperation and collective governance as integral parts of future independence. Aung San's vision for a unified Burma, where all ethnicities were granted rights, began to take shape, leading to the formation of a national government aimed at addressing the diverse needs of its population. Tragically, Aung San's assassination in July 1947 dealt a severe blow to the independence movement. Many feared that the power vacuum created would lead to increased unrest and conflict. Despite this, hope remained alive among the populace as factions sought to continue pushing for independence, still feeling emboldened by their recent experiences during the war. The loss of this key leader only fueled the fire for those seeking a new government. On January 4, 1948, Burma achieved independence from British colonial rule, marking a new chapter for the nation. The hopes of countless citizens were reflected in celebrations that filled the streets with joy and optimism. However, challenges still loomed over the newly independent country as it dealt with internal conflicts among ethnic groups and the struggle to create a cohesive national identity. The journey had just begun, filled with potential and uncertainty.